The giant space station hung in the darkness like a crystal mountain. Its walls were made of clear material that sparkled with strange lights. This was the home of the Galactic Council, where the most powerful beings in the galaxy made important decisions. Today, a human ship was coming to visit. Ambassador Kim Tae-ho stood at the window of his small transport ship. He wore a dark blue uniform with gold buttons. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp and careful. Behind him stood Captain Park So-min. She was smaller than most people expected for a bodyguard. Her black hair was tied back in a simple style. She wore a plain gray uniform with no decorations. Most aliens would think she was just a secretary or assistant. They were wrong. The transport ship moved slowly toward the docking bay. Tae-ho had been preparing for this meeting for 2 years. Humanity wanted to join the inner circle of the Galactic Council. Only the most advanced and trusted species were allowed in the inner circle. It would give humans access to new technology and trade routes. More importantly, it would protect Earth from attack. "Ambassador," said the ship's captain over the speaker. "We are ready to dock." Tae-ho nodded. "Thank you, Captain. Are our bags ready?" "Yes, sir." "Your meeting files and gifts are loaded." So-min stepped closer to Tae-ho. "Remember, sir, I am just your assistant here. Let them think I am weak." Tae-ho smiled slightly. "I know, So-min, but be ready. I have a bad feeling about this place." The docking was smooth. Tae-ho and So-min walked through the airlock into the station. The gravity felt normal, but the air smelled strange. Like flowers mixed with metal, alien beings moved through the corridors. Some looked like giant insects. Others were made of energy that glowed blue or red. A few looked almost human, but had strange skin colors or extra arms. A tall figure approached them. It had 8 legs like a spider and wore rich purple robes. Its face had too many eyes and sharp teeth. This was Counselor Veltar of the Arachnid Coalition. "Welcome, human," Veltar said. His voice sounded like metal scraping against stone. "I am Counselor Veltar. I will show you to your rooms." Tae-ho bowed politely. "Thank you, Counselor. I am Ambassador Kim Tae-ho. This is my assistant, Park So-min." Veltar looked at So-min for only a second. "Yes, come. The High Chancellor wants to meet you before the formal sessions begin." They walked through long corridors filled with amazing sights. The walls showed pictures of space battles and peace treaties from thousands of years ago. Alien art hung everywhere. Some pieces moved and changed colors. Others sang soft music as people walked by. So-min stayed quiet and walked behind Tae-ho, like a good assistant should. But her eyes never stopped moving. She counted guard positions. She noted where weapons might be hidden. Her enhanced hearing picked up conversations in other rooms. Something was wrong here. Too many private meetings. Too many whispered words. They reached a large door made of silver metal. It opened without sound. Inside was the most important room on the station. The High Chancellor's office was huge. The ceiling showed real space outside. Stars moved slowly overhead. In the center sat High Chancellor Mordun. Mordun was very old and very powerful. He looked like he was made of white light shaped into the form of a tall, thin person. His voice came from everywhere at once when he spoke. "Ambassador Tae-ho, welcome to our station. I have heard much about your species." Tae-ho bowed again. "Thank you, High Chancellor. Humanity is honored to be here." "Your species is young," Mordun said. "Only 200 years since you left your home world. Yet you have spread to 50 systems. You have defeated pirates and slavers. You have built strong ships and cities. This is impressive." "We work hard and help each other," Tae-ho replied. "We believe all intelligent beings deserve freedom and safety." Veltar made a sound like angry clicking. "They also make war, High Chancellor. The humans destroyed the Kepler pirate base completely. No survivors." Tae-ho's face stayed calm. "The Pirates at Kepler Station were selling children as slaves, Counselor Veltar. They refused to surrender when we offered them the chance. We protected the innocent. By killing everyone? Veltar clicked again. By stopping evil, Somin said quietly. It was the first time she had spoken. Her voice was soft but clear. Veltar looked at her with surprise. The assistant speaks? My assistant has good judgment, Tejo said smoothly. She was at Kepler Station. She saw what the pirates did to the children they captured. High Chancellor Morden raised one glowing hand. Peace. We are not here to discuss old battles. Ambassador, your formal presentation begins tomorrow. You will have 3 days to convince the Council that humanity deserves Inner Circle membership. I understand, High Chancellor. Counselor Veltar will show you to your quarters. Rest well. Tomorrow will be challenging. Veltar led them through more corridors to a section marked for visiting diplomats. Their rooms were nice but simple. 2 bedrooms connected by a small sitting area. The walls were plain white. The furniture was basic but comfortable. Your presentation begins at the Second Sun tomorrow, Veltar said. Do not be late. The Council does not like to wait. After Veltar left, Tejo and Somin checked their rooms carefully. Somin found 3 listening devices and 1 small camera. She left them alone, but made note of their positions. What do you think? Tejo asked when they were sure they could talk safely. Veltar does not want us here, Somin said. He will try to stop our membership. Maybe with words, maybe with more. I expected that. The Arachnid Coalition has controlled trade in this sector for 500 years. If humans join the Inner Circle, we will compete with them. There is something else, Somin said. Too many weapons on this station, too many guards in the wrong places. This feels like preparation for a fight. Tejo nodded. Stay alert, but remember, we are diplomats first. We came here to talk, not to fight. Yes, sir, Somin said, but her hand moved unconsciously to where a weapon would hang on her belt. I hope they remember that too. Outside their window, alien ships moved through space like schools of fish. The galaxy was beautiful and vast. Somewhere in that darkness was Earth, depending on them to succeed. Tejo looked at the stars and prepared for the most important, 3 days of his life. He did not know that some members of the Council were already planning to make sure he never saw those 3 days end. The next morning came quickly. Tejo woke early and put on his best diplomatic uniform. The dark blue fabric was decorated with Earth's symbol, a small planet surrounded by stars. Somin wore her simple gray clothes again. To anyone watching, she looked like a quiet assistant carrying files and water for her boss. The council chamber was enormous. Hundreds of alien beings sat in circles that rose up toward the ceiling. Each species had their own section. The arachnids sat together. In one area, their purple robes bright against their dark shells. The Reptilian Confederation occupied another section, their green scales catching the light. Energy beings floated in special containers. Some aliens needed special breathing equipment or different gravity. In the center was a small platform where speakers stood. Tejo walked to this platform while Somin took a seat in the visitors' area. She kept her head down like a good assistant, but her enhanced eyes were recording everything. High Chancellor Morden spoke first. Today, we hear from Ambassador Kim Tejo of the Human Federation. He requests Inner Circle membership for his species. Tejo stepped forward. Honored Council members, I thank you for this opportunity. Humanity has been part of the galactic community for 2 centuries. In that time, we have proven ourselves as traders, explorers, and defenders of peace. He activated a holographic display that showed human colonies and trade routes. We have established settlements in 50 star systems. We trade fairly with over 30 species. We have never started a war, but we have ended several conflicts through negotiation and, when necessary, intervention. A voice called out from the reptilian section. What about the Kepler incident? This was Counselor Zephyk, a large green being with intelligent yellow eyes. The Kepler pirates were operating outside galactic law, Tejo replied calmly. They were taking children from farming colonies and selling them as slaves. When we discovered this, we offered them surrender terms. They chose to fight instead. Veltar stood up in the arachnid section. You destroyed an entire station. Hundreds died. Hundreds of criminals died, Tejo corrected. But thousands of children lived. We recovered over 3,000 young beings from dozens of species. They are now safe with their families. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some species made sounds of approval. Others seemed less certain. Dr. Lee Hyun-woo, the human scientist, sat in the visitors section near So-min. He had prepared detailed reports about human medical advances and agricultural techniques. He was ready to speak if Tejo needed scientific support. The questioning continued for hours. Veltar asked about human military strength. How many ships did they have? How many soldiers? Why did they build such powerful weapons if they were peaceful? Tejo answered each question honestly. We build strong defenses because the galaxy can be dangerous. Pirates, slavers, and raiders attack peaceful colonies. Someone must protect the innocent. If existing authorities cannot or will not act, we will. And who decides when action is needed? Asked a floating energy being from the ethereal collective. Our elected government and military leaders follow strict rules, Tejo said. We never attack without cause. We always try negotiation first. We only use force to protect others or defend ourselves. During a break, So-min left the chamber to get water for Tejo. In the corridor, she passed a group of arachnid guards speaking in their clicking language. Her enhanced hearing and language implants let her understand them. The charges are placed, one said. When the signal comes, the human sections will be sealed. What about witnesses? Asked another. Veltar says there must be no survivors. Make it look like the humans started the fight. So-min kept walking calmly, but her mind was racing. She used her hidden communication device to send a coded message to Commander Yoon Da-eun on the human ship Indomitable. The message was simple. Storm coming. Be ready. Back on the Indomitable, Commander Yoon Da-eun read the message with growing concern. She was a veteran space officer with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had fought pirates and raiders for 20 years. She knew the sound of trouble. Lieutenant, she called to her communications officer, send a message to Admiral Song Yu-jin. Tell her we may need backup. Code yellow. Yes, ma'am, the young officer replied. Should I contact the other human ships in the area? Quietly. We don't want to seem aggressive, but yes, let them know to be ready. On the station, the afternoon session was more hostile than the morning. Veltar presented what he called evidence of human expansion plans. He showed maps claiming humans were planning to take over arachnid trade routes. He displayed reports about human military exercises near neutral zones. Tejo listened calmly, then responded. Counselor Veltar, these documents are either false or taken out of context. Our expansion follows galactic law. Our trade routes compete fairly with existing ones. Our military exercises happen in human space, not neutral zones. You deny these accusations? Veltar clicked angrily. I deny false accusations based on fake evidence, Tejo said firmly. If the Council wants truth, I can provide complete records of all human activities. Dr. Lee Hyun-woo stood up in the visitors section. May I speak, Honored Chancellor? Morden nodded. Dr. Lee Hyun-woo, human xenobiologist. You may address the Council. Lee walked to the platform carrying a data pad. Counselor Veltar speaks of human expansion, but look at what we actually do. He activated new holographic displays. On every world we settle, we study the native life first. We adapt our cities to protect local species. We share our medical and agricultural knowledge freely. The displays showed human colonies where Earth crops grew next to alien plants. They showed human doctors treating sick aliens. They showed human engineers building water systems for drought-stricken worlds. This is what human expansion really looks like, Lee said. We make the galaxy better for everyone. Several council members made approving sounds, but Veltar was not finished. Pretty pictures, he clicked. But humans are dangerous. They reproduce too quickly. They learn too fast. They build too many weapons. Give them inner circle status, and in 50 years, they will control everything. Like the arachnids controlled everything for the past 500 years? Asked Counselor Zephic dryly. Veltar's eyes flashed with anger. We brought order to chaos. You brought high prices and restricted trade, Zephic replied. Perhaps some competition would be good. The argument continued as the sun set outside the station. Somin noticed more guards moving through the corridors. Energy readings on her hidden scanners showed weapons being charged. Whatever Veltar was planning, it would happen soon. She caught Teho's eye and made a small hand signal. He nodded slightly, understanding her warning. As the day ended, Chancellor Morden called for order. We will continue tomorrow. All council members should consider what they have heard today. Teho bowed. Thank you, High Chancellor. I look forward to continuing our discussion. But as they left the chamber, Somin knew there might not be a tomorrow. Not if Veltar had his way. That night, she checked and rechecked her hidden weapons. Her enhanced reflexes were operating perfectly. Her tactical computer was running combat simulations. She had sent detailed intelligence reports to the Indomitable. Everything was ready. Now they just had to survive whatever was coming. Outside the station, human ships moved quietly into position. They looked like they were conducting routine patrols, but they were actually preparing for battle. The trap was set, but Veltar was about to learn that humans were much harder to kill than he thought. The third day of the hearing began like the others. Teho put on his uniform and prepared his final presentation. This was his last chance to convince the council that humanity deserved Inner Circle membership. Somin dressed in her plain gray clothes and gathered the presentation files. But something was different today. The corridors seemed too quiet. Alien staff members who had been friendly before now avoided looking at the humans. The normal sounds of the station, humming machines, distant conversations, footsteps, were missing. Do you feel that? Somin asked quietly as they walked toward the council chamber. Yes, Teho replied. The station feels empty. Where is everyone? They passed several security checkpoints that were normally staffed by council guards. Today, only arachnid soldiers stood at these positions. Their weapons were visible and ready. They watched the humans with multiple eyes that reflected no emotion. In the council chamber, many seats were empty. Only about half the normal number of council members were present. Veltar sat in his usual place, but now he was surrounded by armed arachnid warriors instead of civilian advisors. High Chancellor Morden appeared as a glowing figure at the center of the chamber. Ambassador Teho, please begin your final presentation. Teho walked to the speaking platform. Somin took her usual seat in the visitors section, but she noticed that Dr. Lee Hyun-woo was not there. Neither were most of the other alien diplomats who had attended the previous sessions. Honored council members, Teho began, for 3 days we have discussed humanity's request for Inner Circle membership. I have shown you our peaceful expansion, our fair trade practices, and our commitment to protecting the innocent. Today, I want to speak about our vision for the future. He activated the holographic display system. Nothing happened. He tried again. Still nothing. I apologize, Teho said calmly. There seems to be a technical problem. Veltar stood up slowly. There is no technical problem, human. The presentation equipment has been disabled intentionally. Teho felt the temperature in the room seem to drop. I don't understand, Counselor. Then let me explain, Veltar clicked loudly. 30 minutes ago, we received terrible news. A human battle fleet attacked and destroyed 3 arachnid colony ships in the Vega system. Hundreds of innocent civilians are dead. Gasps came from the few council members who were present. Teho's face showed genuine shock. That is impossible. No human ships are in the Vega system. Our fleet positions are all recorded and monitored. Your lies will not save you now, Veltar snarled. The attack was unprovoked and brutal. It proves that humans cannot be trusted with advanced technology or council membership. Behind Teho, hidden doors slid open. Armed arachnid soldiers poured into the chamber. They carried plasma rifles and wore full combat armor. Their orders were clear. Kill all humans on the station and make it look like they had resisted arrest. High Chancellor, Teho called out. This is clearly a setup. Check the actual fleet positions. Contact Admiral Song Yu-jin. But Morden's glowing form was already fading. I am sorry, Ambassador. The evidence is clear. You and your people are under arrest for war crimes. So Min stood up slowly in the visitors section. Her movements were smooth and calm, like someone stretching after sitting too long. To the arachnid soldiers, she looked like a frightened assistant who was confused by the sudden violence. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The first soldier to reach Teho raised his plasma rifle. Surrender, human, and your death will be quick. I surrendered to no one based on false charges, Teho said firmly. Contact my ship. Verify our fleet positions. You will see this is a lie. Too late for verification, the soldier laughed. Time to... He never finished the sentence. So Min moved like lightning across the chamber. Her enhanced muscles launched her through the air faster than any normal human could move. She struck the soldier in the neck with her bare hand. The impact was precise and deadly. He dropped to the floor without making a sound. The other soldiers turned in surprise. They had been told humans were soft and weak. The small female in gray clothes had just killed their squad leader with one hit. So Min landed next to Teho in a fighting stance. Her calm, assistant-like manner was completely gone. Her eyes were cold and focused. Her body moved with mechanical precision. Get behind me, Ambassador, she said quietly. This is going to get messy. Plasma bolts filled the air where they had been standing. So Min grabbed Teho and dove behind the speaking platform. The energy blasts left smoking holes in the wall. Behind them. How many are there? Teho asked. So Min's enhanced hearing counted heartbeats, breathing patterns, and weapon energy signatures. 12 in this room. More coming through the corridors. At least 40 total on this level. Can you handle 40 arachnid soldiers? So Min reached under her gray jacket and pulled out weapons that had been hidden against her body. A plasma pistol appeared in each hand. Her clothing split along hidden seams to reveal tactical armor underneath. Ambassador, she said with a slight smile, you have no idea what I can handle. She rolled out from behind the platform and opened fire. Her aim was perfect. Each shot hit exactly where she intended. Arachnid soldiers fell with smoking holes through their armor. They tried to return fire, but she was already moving to a new position. Her enhanced reflexes made their weapons seem slow. She could see the plasma bolts coming and dodge them easily. Her tactical computer calculated angles and distances automatically. Her cybernetic implants coordinated her movements with inhuman precision. In 30 seconds, all 12 soldiers in the chamber were dead. Impressive, said a new voice from the chamber entrance. But you cannot fight all of us. A massive figure entered the room. This was the Velkorian War Prime, a creature that stood 8 feet tall and was covered in thick armor plating. Behind him came 20 more soldiers from different species. All were armed with heavy weapons. So Min evaluated the new threat quickly. The War Prime was strong enough to break her bones if he got close. The other soldiers had better weapons, and more experience than the arachnids. This would be more difficult. "Ambassador," she said without taking her eyes off the enemy, "remember when I told you about Kepler Station? About how I held off an entire pirate fleet until reinforcements arrived?" "Yes," Tejo replied. "I never told you the whole story. There were no reinforcements. I took out the entire fleet by myself." The war prime laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. "One small human female against a fleet? Impossible." "You're about to find out," Soman said. She activated systems that had been hidden even from Tejo. Her body began to glow with a faint blue light as her cybernetic enhancements reached full power. Neural accelerators sped up her thinking. Strength enhancers increased her muscle output. Reflexes that were already superhuman became godlike. The first soldier to fire at her found his weapon torn from his hands and crushed into scrap metal. So-Min had moved so fast that he never saw her coming. The second soldier lasted long enough to scream before she snapped his neck. The war prime charged at her with a roar. He was strong and experienced and angry. He was also completely outmatched. So-Min stepped aside from his attack and struck him in the knee with enough force to shatter the joint. As he fell, she grabbed his head and twisted. The sound echoed through the chamber like a tree branch breaking. In less than 2 minutes, every enemy soldier was dead. So-Min stood among the bodies, her clothes torn and her armor showing, but completely unharmed. "Status report," came a voice from her hidden communicator. "This is Agent Han Min-seo," So-Min replied. "I'm in the council chamber. The ambassador is safe. Beginning extraction procedures." Tejo stared at her in amazement. "Agent? You're more than just a bodyguard." "Much more," So-Min admitted. "We knew this might happen. I was sent to protect you and gather intelligence on the conspiracy." "What conspiracy?" "The one that just tried to kill you," said a new voice. A woman in council security uniform entered the chamber. This was Agent Han Min-seo, who had been working undercover for weeks. "Agent Han," So-Min nodded. "Report." "Veltar has been planning this for months," Han explained quickly. "The attack on the arachnid ships was staged using holographic technology. No one actually died. But the plan was to kill you and claim humans started a war." Alarms began sounding throughout the station. More soldiers would arrive soon. "Time to go," So-Min said. She activated her communicator. "Commander Yoon, this is Captain Park. The ambassador is alive and we need immediate extraction." "On our way, Captain," came the reply. "Fleet is moving into position." As they prepared to leave the chamber, Tejo looked at the destruction around them. "So much for peaceful negotiations." "The negotiations are just beginning," So-Min replied. "But now they know exactly who they're dealing with." Outside the station, human warships appeared from nowhere as their stealth systems deactivated. The trap had failed. Now it was time for the galaxy to learn that threatening human diplomats was a very bad idea. The station's alarms screamed through the corridors like wounded animals. Emergency lights flashed red and white, casting strange shadows on the walls. So-Min led Tejo and Agent Han through passages that most beings never saw. Her enhanced sensors guided them toward the docking bays while avoiding the heaviest fighting. Behind them, more arachnid soldiers poured into the council chamber. They found only bodies and blast marks. Their perfect plan was falling apart, but Veltar was not ready to give up. He activated his communicator and sent orders to every conspirator on the station. "Kill them all," he clicked angrily. "No witnesses, no survivors. Make it look like the humans went mad and started killing everyone." But the humans were no longer hiding. Throughout the station, other members of Tejo's diplomatic team revealed their true nature. Dr. Lee Hyunwoo pulled advanced weapons from his medical equipment case. Cultural attaché Kim Da-som turned out to be an explosives expert. Even the EUI, ship's cook, was actually a combat engineer. In the main docking bay, Sergeant Choi Woo-jin led a squad of Marines from the Indomitable. They had come aboard disguised as cargo handlers and maintenance workers. Now they fought to secure an escape route for the ambassador. "Sergeant!" called one of his Marines. "Arachnid heavy weapons team coming from Section 7. Choi took cover behind a cargo container and checked his ammunition. "How many?" 12 soldiers, 2 plasma cannons. "Too many for a straight fight," Choi muttered. Then he smiled grimly. "Good thing we don't fight straight." He activated charges that his team had placed throughout the docking bay during the past 3 days. The explosions were carefully planned to damage arachnid positions without hurting the human ship or innocent station workers. The plasma cannon team disappeared in a cloud of smoke and flying metal. The surviving soldiers found themselves trapped between the Marines and a hull breach that was sucking air into space. "Surrender now and live," Choi called out in the arachnid language. "Keep fighting and join your friends in the vacuum." Most of the soldiers chose to live. Meanwhile, So-min was making her own path through the station. Every corridor they entered was filled with enemies. Every intersection was a potential ambush point. But she moved through them like a force of nature. Her enhanced senses detected heartbeats through walls. Her tactical computer calculated optimal routes and firing angles. Her weapons never seemed to run out of ammunition because she had planned for this moment for months. "How are you doing that?" Agent Han asked as So-min took down another squad of soldiers without taking a single hit. "Doing what?" So-min replied while reloading her weapons. "Moving like that. Fighting like that. You're not human." "I'm completely human," So-min corrected. "Just improved." Ambassador Taeho understood now why the military had insisted on So-min as his bodyguard. She was not just protection. She was a message, a warning to anyone who might threaten human diplomats. They reached the docking bay to find Sergeant Choi and his Marines waiting for them. The sergeant saluted Taeho smartly. "Ambassador, sir, the ship is ready for departure. Commander Yoon is standing by." "Excellent work, Sergeant," Taeho replied. "What about the other diplomatic staff?" "All accounted for, sir. Dr. Lee and the others are already aboard." But before they could reach the ship, new alarms sounded. These were different from the emergency signals. These were battle alarms. "What now?" Taeho asked. So-min checked her tactical display. "Arachnid fleet ships are moving into attack position. They're going to destroy the station with us on it and blame humans for the explosion." "How many ships?" 27 combat vessels, including 3 heavy cruisers. Sergeant Choi whistled softly. "That's a lot of firepower." "Yes," So-min agreed. "But they made one mistake." "What's that?" "They think we only have one ship here." She activated her communicator on a wide frequency that reached every human vessel in the system. "This is Captain Park So-min, authorization code Death-77. Activate Protocol Omega. All units, drop stealth and engage." The space around the station suddenly filled with human warships. They appeared from nowhere as their advanced stealth systems shut down. The arachnid fleet found themselves surrounded by vessels they had never detected. Commander Yoon Da-yoon's voice came over the communicator from the Indomitable. "Captain Park, this is Commander Yoon. We count 27 enemy vessels. Orders?" "Disable their engines and weapons," So-min replied. "We want prisoners, not corpses. We need them alive to testify about Veltar's conspiracy." "Understood." "All units, you heard the captain. Disable, don't destroy." The battle was brief and decisive. Human ships used advanced targeting systems to take out enemy engines with surgical precision. Arachnid vessels that had been planning to destroy the station found themselves drifting helplessly in space. On the station, Veltar watched his fleet defeat with growing panic. His perfect plan had become a perfect disaster. Not only had the humans survived, they had exposed his entire conspiracy to the galaxy. He activated an emergency communicator to contact his remaining allies. "This is Veltar! "Execute Contingency Plan 7! Destroy all evidence! Kill the prisoners!" But most of his allies were already dead or captured. The few who remained were more interested in surrendering than following orders from a defeated leader. In the docking bay, So Min's team prepared to board their ship, but she paused at the airlock entrance. "Ambassador, I need to go back." "Go back? Why?" "Veltar is still alive. As long as he's free, he can spin this story to make humans look like the aggressors. I need to bring him in." "That's too dangerous," Taeho protested. "The station is full of hostile forces." So Min smiled coldly. "Sir, I just proved that hostile forces are dangerous to me, not the other way around." Before anyone could stop her, she was running back into the station. Her enhanced speed carried her through corridors filled with smoke and debris. Her sensors guided her toward Veltar's command center. Behind her, Agent Han spoke into her communicator. "This is Agent Han to all units. Captain Park is going after Veltar alone. Repeat, the captain is operating independently." "Should we send backup?" asked Sergeant Choi. "I don't think she needs it," Han replied. "But keep the ship ready for immediate departure." So Min reached Veltar's command center in less than 5 minutes. The heavily armored door was locked and sealed. She placed a small explosive charge against the lock mechanism and stepped back. The explosion was small, but perfectly placed. The door swung open to reveal Veltar and his remaining guards. "Impossible!" Veltar clicked in shock. "You should be dead." "Sorry to disappoint you," So Min replied. "Counselor Veltar, you are under arrest for conspiracy, attempted murder, and falsifying evidence. I am a council member. You have no authority here." "Actually, I do." So Min pulled out an official document. "Special authorization from High Chancellor Morden himself, issued after he reviewed the evidence of your conspiracy." Veltar's guards raised their weapons, but they moved too slowly. So Min was among them before they could fire. In seconds, they were unconscious on the floor. She had used non-lethal strikes because they were just following orders. Veltar tried to run, but his 8 legs were no match for her enhanced speed. She grabbed him by one arm and lifted him off the ground. "You cannot do this," he protested. "The Arachnid Coalition will declare war." "No, they won't," So Min said calmly, "because you acted without their knowledge or approval. Agent Han has already contacted their legitimate government. They're sending representatives to arrest you themselves." She carried the struggling Veltar back through the station like he weighed nothing. Behind them, the command center's computers automatically transmitted evidence of the conspiracy to every government in the galaxy. When she reached the docking bay, Taeho was waiting with a satisfied expression. "The High Chancellor just sent a message," he said. "Humanity's application for Inner Circle membership has been approved, unanimously." "Even after all this fighting?" So Min asked. "Especially after all this fighting?" The Council was impressed by our restraint. We could have destroyed Veltar's fleet, but we chose to disable it instead. We could have killed his soldiers, but we took prisoners. We proved that humans can be both strong and merciful." So Min nodded and handed Veltar over to Sergeant Choi. "Then let's go home. I think we've done enough diplomacy for one day." As their ship pulled away from the station, Taeho looked back at the damaged structure. "Do you think this will change things between humans and the other species?" "Yes," So Min replied. "But for the better. They know now that we're not easy targets, but they also know we're not conquerors. Sometimes the best way to make peace is to prove you're too dangerous to fight." Outside the ship, the human fleet formed up for the journey home. They had come as diplomats and nearly died as victims. But they were leaving as the galaxy's newest Inner Circle members, with enemies who had learned to respect them and allies who knew they could be trusted. The mission was complete. The message was sent, and the galaxy would never underestimate humanity again. 3 hours after the failed attack, The Galactic Council station looked like a battlefield. Emergency crews worked to repair damaged sections, while Council security forces rounded up the last of Veltar's conspirators. The human diplomatic ship had departed, but the human fleet remained in the system as a visible reminder of what had just happened. On the flagship Indomitable, Commander Yunda-un stood in the communications center, watching reports come in from across the galaxy. The news of Veltar's conspiracy was spreading faster than light through the galactic information networks. "Commander," called her communications officer, "we have an incoming message from Admiral Song Yu-jin. She's requesting a full tactical." "Report." "Put her through," Yoon replied. The holographic image of Admiral Song Yu-jin appeared in the center of the room. She was an older woman with steel-gray hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. Her uniform was covered with medals from conflicts spanning 3 decades. "Commander Yoon," the Admiral said formally, "I understand you had some excitement. Today." "Yes, ma'am. Veltar attempted to murder Ambassador Taeho and frame humanity for attacking arachnid civilians. Captain Park prevented the assassination and captured Veltar alive. Casualties? None among our people. Enemy losses were approximately 60 soldiers and officers. All died resisting arrest or attempting to kill diplomatic personnel." Admiral Song nodded approvingly. "Rules of engagement were followed?" "Yes. Ma'am, Captain Park used minimum necessary force. Prisoners were taken whenever possible. The conspiracy has been fully exposed with complete evidence." "Good. What is the current status of the Council?" High Chancellor Mordun has called an emergency session. They voted unanimously to grant humanity Inner Circle membership. They also voted to expel the Arachnid Coalition from the Council pending investigation of their government's involvement. The Admiral allowed herself a small smile. "Sometimes the best diplomacy happens at gunpoint. Any word from Captain Park?" "She and the ambassador are returning to Earth aboard the diplomatic transport. Captain Park requested that I remain here, with the fleet to ensure no retaliation attempts." "Approved. Maintain position until further orders." On the Council station, the emergency session was unlike anything the galaxy had seen in centuries. The Great Chamber was filled with angry voices in dozens of languages. Some species were furious about the attack on human diplomats. Others were shocked that such an ancient and respected species as the arachnids could plan something so evil. High Chancellor Morden called for order with his glowing presence. "Council members, we have reviewed all evidence provided by human intelligence agents. The attack on Ambassador Taeho was planned and executed by Councillor Veltar without the knowledge or approval of the legitimate arachnid government." A new figure entered the chamber. This was Prime Minister Kethvor of the Arachnid Coalition. Unlike Veltar, she wore simple robes and moved with dignity rather than arrogance. She had traveled here as soon as news of the conspiracy reached her government. "Honored Council," she said in clear galactic standard language, "I come to apologize for the crimes committed by Veltar and his followers. They acted without authority and against direct orders from our government." "What action will your government take?" asked Councillor Zephyk of the Reptilian Confederation. "Veltar and his co-conspirators will be tried for treason, attempted murder, and crimes against galactic law. Our government will pay full reparations to the Human Federation for damages and insults. We will also provide complete files on all arachnid intelligence operations to prove our commitment to peace." Murmurs of approval came from many sections of the chamber. The Arachnid Coalition had been part of the Council for over 500 years. Most members preferred reform to expulsion. "The human response has been noted," Mordun continued. "Despite unprovoked attack, they used minimum force and took prisoners for trial rather than executing them. They disabled enemy ships rather than destroying them. This restraint in the face of betrayal demonstrates the wisdom we seek in Inner Circle members." Councillor Zephyk stood up. "I move that the Human Federation be granted immediate Inner Circle membership with full privileges and responsibilities." Seconded, called out a voice from the Energy Being section. Thirded, came another voice from the Aquatic Collective. The vote was unanimous. For the first time in 200 years, a new species was welcomed into the inner circle. Meanwhile, in a secure detention cell deep in the station, Veltar sat alone with his thoughts. His perfect plan had not just failed, it had achieved the exact opposite of what he wanted. Instead of destroying humanity's reputation, he had proven their worthiness. Instead of keeping them out of the inner circle, he had guaranteed their membership. A guard approached his cell. It was Agent Han Min Seo, still wearing her council security uniform. "Counselor Veltar," she said formally. "Your trial has been scheduled for next week. Representatives from 12 species will serve as judges. The evidence against you includes recorded conversations, security footage, and testimony from your own soldiers." "I regret nothing," Veltar clicked defiantly. "Humans are a threat to galactic order. Someday you will understand that." "Maybe," Han replied. "But today, we understand that you are the threat, and you have been stopped." As she walked away, Veltar realized that his centuries of political power were over. He would spend the rest of his life in prison while the species he tried to destroy rose to prominence. Back on Earth, news of the successful mission spread quickly through human space. In the capital city of New Geneva, crowds gathered in the streets to celebrate. Humanity had not just survived their first major galactic crisis, they had emerged stronger than ever. Ambassador Tae-ho stood on the balcony of the Foreign Ministry building, watching the celebrations below. Captain Park So-min stood beside him, once again dressed in her simple assistant's clothing. "Do you think this will change how the galaxy sees us?" Tae-ho asked. "It already has," So-min replied. "Before today, they saw us as newcomers who might be useful allies. Now they see us as equals who demand respect. And those who refuse to give that respect," So-min's smile was cold and dangerous. "They'll learn the same lesson Veltar learned. Humans can be the best friends you ever had, or the worst enemies you can imagine. The choice is theirs." A message arrived on Tai-ho's personal communicator. It was from High Chancellor Mordun himself. "Ambassador Tae-ho," the message read, "the Council has voted to establish a new position, Galactic Peace Enforcement Coordinator. The job is to investigate threats to Council law and protect diplomatic personnel of all species. The Council unanimously requests that Captain Park So-min accept this position." Tae-ho showed the message to So-min. "What do you think?" "I think," So-min said slowly, "that it's time for the galaxy to have a police force that actually works." "Does that mean you're accepting?" "It means I'm accepting, but on human terms. Any species that threatens diplomats or civilians will face human justice. Any government that harbors criminals will face human consequences. Any organization that plans conspiracies will face human investigation." Tae-ho nodded. "I'll send our acceptance, with conditions." As the sun set over New Geneva, humanity prepared for its new role in galactic affairs. They would no longer be the newcomers asking for permission to join. They would be the guardians making sure everyone followed the rules. In space stations and alien worlds across the galaxy, the news was received with mixed reactions. Some species were pleased to have such effective peacekeepers. Others were nervous about human power and influence. But all of them understood one thing clearly. The galaxy had changed forever. Humanity was no longer just another species trying to find its place among the stars. They were the species that others would have to reckon with. And at the center of it all was Captain Park So-min, the quiet assistant who had proven that death itself stood beside human diplomats. The age of human dominance in galactic affairs had begun. Not through conquest or intimidation, but through the simple demonstration that humans would protect what was right and punish what was wrong. Veltar had wanted to start a war against humanity. Instead, he had started an era of human leadership that would last for centuries to come. 6 months after the attack on the Galactic Council Station, the galaxy looked very different. The trial of Veltar and his conspirators had ended with life sentences for treason and attempted genocide. The Arachnid Coalition had undergone complete government reform and was slowly rebuilding its reputation, and humanity had taken its place as one of the most influential species in galactic politics. Captain Park So-min stood in her new office, aboard the council station. The room was larger than her old quarters, but still simply decorated. Maps of the galaxy covered the walls, marked with trade routes, diplomatic missions, and potential trouble spots. Her official title was Galactic Peace Enforcement Coordinator, but most beings simply called her the Enforcer. Ambassador Tae-ho entered the office carrying a datapad filled with reports. In the months since the crisis, he had been promoted to senior human representative to the Galactic Council. His diplomatic skills had proven as valuable as So-min's combat abilities. "Good morning, Captain," he said with a smile. "I have updates from 3 sectors." "Good news or bad news?" So-min asked while reviewing her own reports. "Both. The good news is that piracy in the Outer Rim has dropped by 60% since you established the human patrol fleet. The bad news is that we have a new problem in the Andromeda trade zone." So-min looked up from her work. "What kind of problem?" "Slavery. The Corvan Empire has been taking prisoners from border wars and selling them to mining companies. Over 10,000 beings are being held against their will. Evidence complete. Files from 3 different intelligence sources. Video recordings of slave auctions. Financial records showing payments to Corvan military officers." So-min stood up and walked to the galaxy map on her wall. She found the Corvan Empire and studied the star charts around it. "The Corvans have 40 battle cruisers and control 6 star systems. They think their military strength makes them untouchable. The Council wants to handle this diplomatically," Tae-ho said carefully. "They're concerned about starting a major war." "How long have they been trying diplomatic solutions?" 3 years. "And how many more slaves were taken during those 3 years of diplomacy?" Tae-ho checked his datapad. "Approximately 30,000. So-min nodded grimly. "Then it's time for diplomacy to get some support." She activated her communication system and sent a message to Admiral Song Yoo-jin on Earth. "Admiral, this is Captain Park. Request immediate deployment of the 3rd Human Battle Fleet to Corvan border space. Mission, Freedom of Navigation exercise." "Acknowledged." "Captain," came the Admiral's reply within minutes. "3rd Fleet will depart in 6 hours. Anything else?" "Tell them to bring the new ships. I want the Corvans to see what human engineering can do." Tae-ho raised an eyebrow. "The new ships? You mean the Yamato-class dreadnoughts?" "Among others. It's time for the galaxy to see that human military technology has advanced significantly since the Veltar incident. The Yamato-class dreadnoughts were the newest and most powerful ships in human space. They were twice the size of previous battleships and carried weapons that could destroy entire fleets. Only 3 had been built so far, and this would be their first operational deployment. 2 days later, the human 3rd Fleet arrived at the edge of Corvan space. The sight was impressive even by galactic standards. 50 human warships, including the massive dreadnoughts Yamato, Musashi, and Bismarck, took up positions just outside Corvan territory. Commander Ko Jae-sung of the Yamato sent a formal message to the Corvan government. "This is the human 3rd Fleet conducting freedom of navigation exercises in neutral space. We will be testing our weapon systems and practicing assault tactics for the next week." The message was polite, but the meaning was clear. The humans were demonstrating their ability to destroy the Corvan Empire whenever they chose to do so. On the council station, So-min met with Corvan Ambassador Dexhall in her office. He was a large, green-scaled reptilian being who had served as a diplomat for over 50 years. He was not happy about the human fleet positioned near his empire. "Captain Park," he said formally, "my government protests the presence of human warships near our borders. This is clearly an act of aggression." "Ambassador Dexhall," So-min replied calmly, "human ships are conducting legal exercises in neutral space. However, I asked you here to discuss a different matter. She activated a holographic display showing recordings of Corvan slave auctions. We have evidence that your government is engaged in the illegal slave trade. This violates 17 different galactic laws and treaties. Dex Hall's scales turned a darker shade of green, which indicated stress in his species. These accusations are false. The Corvan Empire does not engage in slavery. The evidence says otherwise. So-Min showed him financial records proving that Corvan military officers were being paid for delivering prisoners to mining companies. We have names, dates, and payment amounts. Even if this were true, Dex Hall said desperately, these would be rogue military officers acting without government approval. Then your government will have no problem arresting these officers and freeing their victims. It's not that simple. Actually, it is that simple. So-Min's voice became cold and dangerous. Your government has exactly 72 hours to release all slaves, arrest the responsible officers, and pay reparations to the victims. If this does not happen, the human enforcement fleet will take action. You cannot threaten a sovereign. Government! I'm not threatening anyone. I'm explaining consequences. If the Corvan Empire continues to break galactic law, they will face galactic justice. Ambassador Dex Hall left the meeting to contact his government immediately. The sight of 3 human dreadnoughts near his empire's borders made So-Min's words very persuasive. 71 hours later, the Corvan government announced that they had discovered unauthorized slavery operations and would immediately free all prisoners. They arrested 47 military officers and paid compensation to every freed slave. The operation was so successful that other species began requesting human assistance with their own criminal problems. The Aquatic Collective asked for help, stopping piracy in their shipping lanes. The Crystal Dominion requested aid in hunting down illegal weapons dealers. In each case, the pattern was the same. Human investigators would gather evidence. Human diplomats would present demands for justice. Human fleets would position themselves nearby as training exercises, and criminal organizations would suddenly discover that following galactic law was much safer than facing human enforcement. Ambassador Tai Ho stood before the full Galactic Council 6 months later to deliver a progress report. The Great Chamber was packed with representatives from every major species in the galaxy. "Honored council members," he began, "I am pleased to report that galactic crime rates have fallen to the lowest levels in recorded history. Piracy is down 75%. Slavery operations have been virtually eliminated. Illegal weapons trafficking has been reduced by 60%. Applause filled the chamber from dozens of different species. The improvement in galactic security was obvious to everyone. However, Tae-Ho continued, this success comes with responsibility. Humanity did not seek the role of galactic enforcer. It was given to us because existing systems had failed. We accept this responsibility, but we will exercise it according to human principles. What principles are those? Asked Counselor Zafik of the Reptilian Confederation. Justice over politics, evidence over accusations, proportional response over excessive force, protection of the innocent over protection of the powerful. High Chancellor Mordun spoke from his position at the center of the chamber. The Council recognizes that human enforcement methods have been effective and fair. Therefore, we formally establish the Human Peace Enforcement Authority as a permanent Council institution. More applause filled the chamber. But not everyone was entirely happy with human dominance in galactic affairs. After the session, several ambassadors approached Tae-Ho privately. They represented older, more established species who were concerned about human influence. Ambassador: Tae-Ho, said one of them, your species has gained enormous power very quickly. How do we know humans won't become the very tyrants you claim to oppose? Tae-Ho smiled and gestured toward Captain Park So-Min, who stood quietly nearby in her simple uniform. Because our power comes from our willingness to use it responsibly. Captain Park could have killed Veltar and all his conspirators. Instead, she captured them for trial, We could have destroyed the Corvan fleet. Instead, we gave them the chance to reform. But what if humanity becomes corrupt? What if your leaders abuse their power? Then other species will unite against us, just as they united against previous tyrants. Power is only as strong as the consent of those who accept it. The moment we abuse our authority is the moment we lose it. So Min stepped forward. There's something else you should understand. Humans don't want to rule the galaxy. We want to protect it. There's a difference. What difference? Asked another ambassador. Rulers take from others to benefit themselves. Protectors give of themselves to benefit others. We spend human resources, risk human lives, and accept human casualties to keep the galaxy safe. We gain nothing except the knowledge that innocent beings can sleep safely. One of the ambassadors, an elderly being from the Silicon Collective, nodded slowly.